I will now call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. here at Macadavic Place, St. George. Good evening and welcome to the September 2023 regular council meeting of the Eastern Charlotte Council. This is our 9th official council meeting for Eastern Charlotte. I welcome all those that are attending here tonight and those that are watching either on YouTube or on their cell phone tonight. I wish to welcome CHCO for being here tonight, Florence Metro, and of course, Vicky Hogarth. Tonight we got Chris McKinnon to my left, who's actually taking all the notes tonight, and our CEO, and of course Glenn Hawkins in the back, who does a lot of work for us as well. At this point of the meeting, I will now call for a motion to accept the agenda tonight. And Councillor Hatt, you have something?
I would ask that we could add an item under new business, spend for dehumidifier for the arena in Blacks Harbor, Patrick Connors Recreation Complex.
Okay, so I'll add that as 10E. 10E is I'll call that arena spending, I'll call that. Also, I need council to move 7B to 11 tonight as part of that motion as well. Alex Henderson is running a little bit late tonight. I don't think he's here. He's running a little bit late, so if we can move him to number 11, and then that'll give council the opportunity to ask him questions tonight. So if that's all right, we'll add those two items to the agenda tonight, but I still need a motion to accept that with those two added to the motion. Councillor Hatt, you want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion that we accept the agenda.
Yep. We need a seconder for that. Councillor Lee, just by here. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. And it's passing unanimously. 3 is conflict of interest. Anybody wants to declare any conflict of interest may do so now. If not, we move on to adoption of minutes of the previous council meetings. We have a 4A, which is the August 16th, 2023 regular council meeting. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Councillor McQuarrie. Seconder would be Councillor Hatt. Question or comment on that motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. And that's passed unanimously. 4B is September the 5th. It was a closed meeting of council. I need a motion to approve those minutes. I need Councillor McKay. Seconded by Councillor Tidd. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. And that's passed unanimously. 4C, which is September the 12th, another closed meeting of council. I need a motion for that. Councillor Lee, seconded by Councillor McQuarrie. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. And that's passed unanimously. That moves us to, I think some of you have 4C twice on your thing, but we'll move on. 5 is business arising out of the minutes. There are none. Delegations and doer tonight. And you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me. I want to start with saying I want to thank you guys for your support the last few years with running the Mariners Music Fest. And I am going to be putting all of this in writing, and we're looking to have it permission for next year's already. I'm looking to apply for a federal grant, and if I can get it, it will pay for my musicians, and it will give money to different people that are performing for us and things. So the grant has to be done soon, so I'll be looking for hopefully your approval in writing for this. We'd like to have permission to stay open till 11 again next year, but we're planning on only advertising till 10, and if it's warm and if it's successful, we'll go until 11. But we found actually 11 was cold. But we do want to have that buffer. I'm looking for a liquor license, permission to sell liquor on site. And we'd also like to extend it. We'd like to have a multiple day where we can have something going on here in town on Thursday, joining in with you guys. And Friday, as we did this year, we had it at Fundy High School, but it was supposed to be here. And then we want to have Saturday event, and we're hoping to do something on Sunday as well. And we'd like to have it at various places in the community, so it's not all at Fundy High and everybody can profit from it. We'd also like to increase it and add artists, local artists, and have artist displays. So I'd be interested in having availability of space around the community so that we can display their work and people can promote different things. And we're also hoping to use the baseball field, but you know, it's one of those things that your fingers are crossed that I can get somebody on board with that with us. We're going to be looking for financial support. And the final thing, with everything sweet, you have to come with the reality. The stairs that we borrow from you, which we kindly thankful for, they need to have railings put on them. People that used it during your festival here in town, they found it was hard to get up. And I had quite a few complaints last year and this year. So there's got to be something as a safeguard because our musicians, not all of us have great knees. And I was wondering if you could consider letting people advertise at the Patrick O'Connell Arena and other municipal places if something like this is going on for the municipality. Because at the end of the day, like this year, we've got money to give a grant for a bursary, and we're going to have money to pay for the volleyball nets to contribute with everyone. So we're just trying to make it a big local event. And does anyone have any questions?
First of all, I think it's wonderful that you're working very hard on this. Again, for next year, I attended this summer for a couple times over that weekend, and it was actually very nice. It was, the music was great, and Mark Taylor was awesome with his joke telling. But it was very, very good, and it's a good draw to the area. It's another weekend where there's something else going on in Eastern Charlotte. So I say thank you very much for doing all the work and leading that. So I think it's great. I'm going to let council ask questions or ask comments. Councilor Hatt.
Yeah, if you'd like to schedule a time, we'll get a rec committee together and go over some details that you have or questions or whatnot, and try to get something for planning together to help you.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love it. Yes, I didn't make it this year, but I'd heard it was, I went there for 2 hours, but I heard it was a really nice event. And it's quite something because I ended up in the hospital in emergency surgery, and the volunteers pulled it off without me. So it's really quite something when you think that it was organized enough that they could set everything up and everything could run. And there were a few panic things without the way, but everyone was thrilled with how it turned out. So I think it says a lot about the people volunteering. There were over 75 at the end of the day. Yeah. And I mean, the hub jumped in on with us, and we had a lot of people, and the hub said they'll do it again. So that's good to know, Adam. It would be great to have, you know, as many sporting things, and just to make it something for everybody.
No, it's great. It's great to have another event for the summertime. So the more events we have here in Eastern Charlotte every weekend keeps people in Eastern Charlotte and gets people to come and visit our area and spend money, of course, too. So it's great. It's very good to have that. Council, any other questions, Council? If not, I thank you very much, Anne, for coming in.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Next is number seven is the department reports, and the first 7A is general government report, and I'll call on our CAO, Jason Gadet.
Thank you, Your Worship. General government report for the month of August. Finance staff has been busy finalizing requests with the financial auditors on finalizing the audited statements for 2022, and those will be for the former municipalities of Town of St. George, Village of Blacks Harbor. As expected, the audited statements will be presented to council sometime between this meeting and the next regular meeting. It'll be a special meeting. Updating gas tax plan. We're updating and incorporated or merging of the Eastern Charlotte gas tax plan. That's the former village and town gas tax plan. So that's also coming council's way. Ongoing discussions with the province and economic development on possible child care initiatives for our area. Number of talks and discussions that are ongoing. Housing development. Developments in St. George, Blacks Harbor, working through 3 development agreements. Site plans, requirements, providing direction and funding, working with our partners with Synergy on many of those files as well. Properties, meeting weekly with bylaw enforcement on 15 plus dangerous and unsightly property files. Transportation, working with Dillon Consultant on providing a preliminary traffic study, which I think is on agenda for tonight for the intersections in St. George and requests sent to DTI on the intersection, the main intersection in Back Bay. The museum in Black Harbor finished up its season, working on a few items at the museum over the winter, such as a collapsible wall for displays and providing a little bit more of Eastern Charlotte theme to it. Cemetery restoration grant with RDC, still waiting on that. Seal and paint basement floor. The provincial municipal highway program, quoting on several roads for provincial attention. And again, that will be on the October agenda for council on the provincial municipal highway program. St. George Health Clinic, we met with Dr. Mead on improving services for the clinic and updating usage agreements and future addition of another doctor for that clinic. The arena preparations and upgrades continue, leading up to ice being in place by the end of September. Additional work on finishing lighting upgrades and new rubber mats. For fire, 2 surplus units have open tenders for sale, and the chief, Johnson, and staff working on drafting the 2 fire-related bylaws, which included remuneration of firefighters and a bylaw respecting the fire service. Fog Festival staff was busy with planning the Fog Festival in Black Harbor. A big thank you to Condas Brothers for their donation of the fireworks and hosting several events. EMO working with Tony Munn on a new municipal-wide EMO plan. Water system, a water repair and resulting boil order lasted from August the 14th to September the 11th. During this time, staff was conducting flushing and testing. Utilities, ongoing work with respect to the water, wastewater, IBA projects for St. George and Black Harbor, engineering updates and project reports. Now awaiting test wells for St. George and confirmation from landowners for the Black Harbor project. Also engaged with CBCL on preliminary studies on utility services at Exit 56. Personnel were compiling a rotation for staff of the arena during winter operations. And just a note for residents, residents are encouraged to sign up for the Voyant Alert, which can be accessed from the front page of easterncharlotte.ca. Certainly, I guess just on that note, I would just say big thank you to the fire service, and we had also Public Works working over the weekend in relation to Tropical Storm Lee, and they did a real good job, not only in the former municipalities, but also in the rural areas of Eastern Charlotte. And that's the general government report.
Great. Thank you, Jason. First of all, I want to take the opportunity, since you talked about the Hurricane Lee, I just want to be able to say thank you to our fire departments, St. George and Black Harbor, but we call it Eastern Charlotte Fire and Rescue now. And these guys are out all weekend long, putting things on the road, stopping people from using certain roads when trees went down. Public Works crew, Ricky Levitt's crew, and Ron Groom, those guys did an exceptional job putting their lives at risk by going out, making sure things were sawed up, things were taken care of. I don't know all the things they did, but I know they're out there all the time. And I also want to thank you, Jason, because, Jason, you were out there the whole weekend, especially all day Saturday, traveling every road of Eastern Charlotte. We're very lucky to have you as our manager, and just making sure that things were you're a hands-on manager, and that's what I like about you. You do a really good job, and you reported back to me what was going on, and made my life a lot easier. I'm able to get the information out to people, and so we're very fortunate here in Eastern Charlotte to have a great fire department, Public Works people all working together, and all run by our manager here. And I can't thank them all enough for what they did, what they do all year long, but especially for that weekend. I had a lady from Beaver Harbor come to me yesterday, and she said it was the first time ever that she actually felt safe. Every different time she looked out the window, she would see an Eastern Charlotte vehicle going by or a rescue truck going by, and it actually made everybody feel safe knowing that these people were out there keeping an eye on Eastern Charlotte, making sure everybody was safe. So we're very fortunate. I'm going to go to council at this point. Any comments? Councilor Dedorakis, you're first.
It was mentioned months ago at one of our public regular council meetings that there was a plan to remove some of the buildings at the Day Adventure Center. Have we established a date when we're going to do that?
I think the request would have to go to council. Council would have to declare the building surplus. So I think that's tentatively on our October agenda.
Okay.
So they'll be coming to council for October. That will give the building some time over the winter months to be cleared as well.
Okay. And last question. The building's users, have they been notified of what's coming?
For the most part, yes. They're all somewhat aware. We've had this discussion with them not only just this year, but also last year, that, you know, this year would be your last, this year would be your last. So I just spoke with the Girl Guides today. And so for the most part, I don't think any of them are surprised at what's coming.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? If not, we'll move on to the fire report, and I'll call on Councilor Thompson for that.
The Eastern Charlotte Fire Rescue Report. They had a total of 14 calls. 4 of them were false alarms. I'd like to thank all members of the fire rescue for their help with Fog Fest, the firework display, and the recent weather event. Thank you.
Great. Any questions or comments to Councilor Thompson? Councilor, no? None? We'll move on to Public Works and Councilor McQuarrie.
Public Works continue to do regular checks on water and wastewater treatment plants. They continue to monitor and check for chlorine residual and turbidity levels on several testing sites in accordance with approval to operate within the province. They've been busy ditching at Greenlaw Valley and Glenny Court, along with mowing and trimming Main Street, maintaining the ball field and parks and playgrounds, painting and repairs to picnic tables, painting and public washroom, and the old Vic, wherever that is, at the park. Restoration on the road of the water tower due to heavy rain. General maintenance check on all equipment is ongoing with repairs as needed. One of the backhoes needed a new hydraulic line, and the trackless needed oil pressure switch. For St. George, asphalt patching has continued through the month of August, and they're gradually getting the worst spots filled in. Shoulder of the road had sunk and washed away by the Scavillville Road, so it had to be built up around the mailboxes. Light pole on Main Street had to be repaired due to a car damaging it. We met with Galbraith Construction to get another quote on replacing a section of water line on Riverview Avenue. The hope is to replace the problematic section and try to avoid any further disturbance in that spot. A section of bank at the end of Clinch Street gave way and will require some rock or fill to be added to take away the danger of more of the road washing away. Water. The month of July saw the total water use at 10.9038 million gallons with an average of 351,000 per day. We had 2 water service lines that had to be repaired due to deterioration of the old copper line, one on Latique Road, the other on Carlton Street. The monitoring well at Riverview property that was drilled for the well 6 project was filled in as per the agreement with the landowner. We are waiting on pump repairs and replacement for stations 4 and 5. We are still waiting for a replacement sensor for the chlorine metering of the splash pad. The delay in the new probe coming has not interfered with the splash pad operation. Mind you, it's closed now for the season, so. We have been experiencing some issues with the Moby pad at Canal. It was discovered that some of the anchor rods had been removed and new ones are being sourced. All the water samples have been taken and they're all within levels required by the government. That's it.
Thank you, Councilor McQuarrie. Any questions or comments on that? Councilor Dedorakis, you first.
Just a comment. I just want to give a big thanks to the St. George Works Department for promptly fixing this massive washout along the Marsh Trail. I walk my dog regularly along this trail, as do many other residents, and it's one of the gems of our community. So thank you.
If not, if that's it, I'll move on to committee reports. Any committee reports from anybody? Councilor Hatt, you're first.
All right. So for the month of August, the YMCA finished up their summer day program here at the McAdavid. It was a great success. No major issues with it, and kids had a lot of fun. The 9-week summer concert series, which began in July, wrapped up. We had performances by Tom and Angela Mason, Claudette and Zeta Norman, Running Out of Time, the Richard sisters, Reg Gallant, Higgs sisters, Mike Chase and Skip Justison, Homemade Bread, Gary Lambert, and Jammin' for Jesus. I would also like to extend a huge thank you to all those who have volunteered, participated, and attend each week. I would like to give a special thank you to Gary and Karen Sturgeon for all the work that you guys have done for the concert series this year and making it a success. So the arena is underway. The upgrades and commissioning of the new control system was a success. We actually was ahead of schedule, and it was supposed to be open for ice on September the 25th. We've ran into some major delays with the dehumidifier. The municipality survived Hurricane Lee quite well, but we all know today you could wear shorts and t-shirt and the humidity is through the roof. So without a working dehumidifier, we have had some major setbacks on trying to get ice successfully into the arena. Later there will be some conversation on path forward for that. So right now we are hoping only a 3 or 4 day delay. The Heritage Museum in Blacks Harbor is closed for the season, but if you would like to get in sometime, just call the municipal office and I'm sure we can arrange a time for anybody that would like to get in and check it out, even with the off season. The plaque was placed near the White Hart at the St. George Post Office in memory of Hillary Virginia Ruth Hooper. Any memorial, in my opinion, should have a plaque. So we've done a really nice plaque up and posted it there for, generations to come and keep the White Hart and everybody's close memory. Typically, I only talk about previous months when I do my report, but I just want to touch on in Blacks Harbor and say thanks to all the residents, and even in Beaver Harbor, the water lines have touched. The business's patience in this month-long boil order has been greatly appreciated. I understand it's impacted our festivals, it's impacted in many ways that we've always had our normal way of life, and lugging water even for the horses to drink during the horse pull. I hope that storm is behind us, and when moving forward we can come up with a better and a more robust water system and a better communication. Please sign up for the alert system that our CAO has mentioned earlier. It makes it easier of trying to get things out and notices. Blacks Harbor Fog Festival, September 1st to the 3rd. I want to thank all the volunteers, participants, organizers, and vendors. I want to say special thank you to all the firefighters that I don't know how many was involved, but wouldn't have been a success without the firefighters and the public works crews to help, that's for sure, and the staff of Eastern Charlotte. On September 9th, we partnered with the RCMP to do the second Touch-A-Truck event, but it was the first one for all of Eastern Charlotte. There was a lot of different vehicles, boats, ATVs, other equipment, heavy equipment, and thank you to everyone who was involved. I was unable to attend, but I understand that it was a great success. On Monday, September 18th, the splash pad and Canal Beach is closed for the season. And as I spoke, we were hoping for Monday to be the opening season for the arena. That is being delayed a few days. All the parties have been notified that we are running a little bit behind. And keep an eye out on the Eastern Charlotte Parks and Recreation page for the public ice times that'll be coming. So kind of a different wording from bubble skates this year going forward. There'll be public ice times that'll be open for a discount, like same idea as last year. Also want to take note that there are some surprises that are going to come up. We are planning a kind of a Christmas weekend here, so them details will be coming out soon. And just keep an eye out on the Facebook page and the website. Thank you.
You actually said Christmas, didn't you?
Yes, I like snow.
There you go. I knew that.
Come.
I knew that. Any questions or comments to Councillor Hatt tonight? Councillor, go ahead.
McKay. Adam, I'm just wondering, so where the White Hart is, that plot of ground, is that open for other people to put memorials there as well?
This was a White Hart project that a lot of municipalities have done, so it was through an organized group, and this Eastern Charlotte was chosen for that one to be put here. So I can't comment on that, but that was a Operation White Hart. If you Google it, it's pretty touching.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, that moves us on to financial, and there are no other committee reports tonight. Oh, okay. Sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Public safety, pleased to announce the first Neighborhood Watch program for Ward 2 is up and running. So I guess we're sort of laying down a challenge to the rest of you. Mike and I are on the board. We don't have all the answers, but we might have some if you need help.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments to the Deputy Mayor? None? Next is the financial statement. I'll accept a motion from the floor to accept the financial statement. Councillor Lee, seconded by Councillor Tidd. Question or comment on the motion? No questions or comments. All those in favor of accepting the financial report signify by saying aye. Second, and that is passed unanimously. New business tonight, 10A is the bylaw number EC-07, respecting streets and traffic in St. George. I would entertain a motion for a first reading of bylaw number EC-07. Councillor Dedirakis, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Question or comment on that? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. That motion is carried. I declare that the first reading of bylaw number EC-07, respecting streets and traffic in St. George. 10A2 is the second reading of that same bylaw, and I'll entertain a motion for a second reading of bylaw EC-07, respecting streets and traffic in St. George.
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Dedirakis.
I move that council accept the second reading in its entirety of bylaw EC-07, respecting streets and traffic in St. George.
Thank you, Councillor Dedirakis. Any need a seconder for that? I need a Deputy Mayor. Questions or comments on that? I'm going to go to our manager.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this bylaw number EC-07 is the respecting streets and traffic of the former town boundaries of St. George only within Eastern Charlotte. So this bylaw on second reading is in its entirety, and this entire bylaw in draft state is available for the public both on our website, and it will be available for paper copies at the Municipal Hall.
Great. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. And that's passed unanimously. That is, I declare that the reading of bylaw number EC-07, respecting streets and traffic in St. George. 10A2, we need at this point to set a date for a public hearing on that, and I'll entertain a motion for a public hearing for objections to bylaw EC-07. Councillor McKay, is that?
I move to schedule a public hearing of bylaw, of objections to bylaw EC-07, respecting streets and traffic in St. George on Wednesday, October 4th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. to be held at Macadavic Place Community Center.
We have a motion on the floor for a public hearing on October the 4th at 6:30 p.m. Would they have a seconder for that? Okay, I got all kinds of. Councillor Tidd, I saw first. Yeah. So we have a motion and a seconder, or question or comment on that motion? No, if not, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. Traffic studies, 10B. Entertain. You want to speak on that? Okay. Our CEO will speak on the traffic studies before I entertain a motion.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is traffic studies involving Route 172 and Letite Road, Route 770, that intersection, as well as Route 770 and Main Street. So these two intersections will be looked at for a traffic analysis to examine intersection operations that will be conducted by Dillon Consultant.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion at this point? Councilor Dederakis, no? Councilor Hat, no? Nobody? Councilor Hat?
I move that council accept the offer of services from Dillon Consultant for traffic analysis to examine intersection and operations in Eastern Charlotte for a cost of $12,000 excluding taxes.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilor Hat, seconded by Councilor Lee. Question or comment on the motion? Councilor Dederakis, you're first.
Will the province contribute to this cost since it's a shared responsibility?
They've requested the traffic studies in order for them to make a determination on whether they'd grant any type of traffic adjustments. So we've never seen them contribute. They usually request it at the municipality's cost.
So the short answer is no.
No, yeah. Thank you.
You could be a politician. Those are
He'd be
yes
great.
or no
He'd be a
answers.
great politician. Yeah, I'm this is just a comment. I'm just concerned that removing, like the possibility of removing the stop sign at the bottom of Mount Pleasant, which is really like a hot spot for speeding already, could potentially be even more dangerous to the residents that live along that area and for the students. Yeah, in my experience, I haven't had that much problems with that zone. But I will say that the intersection along Main Street, I mean, who hasn't seen an accident or has been involved in an accident there? So it definitely needs to be looked at.
Any other questions or comments on the motion? If not, all those in favor
I
of the
do.
motion? Oh, sorry, Councilor Hat.
It's a great idea to get it out to an engineering company, and they'll look at all the venues of what causes traffic issues. We're not traffic study people, so let the experts handle it.
Any other questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. 10C is the Blacks Harbor water bills. I'll entertain a motion at this point. Councilor Lee.
I move that council extend the payment discount deadline for Blacks Harbor Water System users from September 13th, 2023 to October 13th, 2023.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilor Lee to extend the water discount for one more month in Blacks Harbor. We need a second for that. You got all kinds of them. Councilor Dederakis, you're first. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. This brings us to 10D, which is the Project Village Development Agreement. 10DI is the Lewis Connors Lane Project. I'll entertain a motion to approve the development agreement for the Lewis Connors Lane Project for Project Village. Councilor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Deputy Mayor, sorry. Question or comment on the motion? Councilor Hat, you're first. I saw your hand move.
I would just ask that maybe we could delay this 30 days to have a more thorough conversation around it.
Councilor Dederakis.
I like to support Councilor Hatt's, it wasn't necessarily a motion, but what he just said. We just got this draft development agreement yesterday, and I personally haven't had time to review it and to make an informed decision. We're talking about, $500,000. We're talking about an additional debt of $500,000, and we need to be clear on the risks that we're actually undertaking. The liability could be huge, and we need to make a thoughtful decision. Another question that we need to ask is, we know that part of the provincial mandate is affordable housing. So my question is, another additional question is, what are they contributing to this project?
Okay. Do you want to answer? There was no motion. There was no motion. Just a statement. Okay. Any other questions or comments on the motion? Council. None. Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Councilor Dederakis.
May I make a motion to table this until our next council meeting?
Okay. We have a motion to table this. I need a second for that. Councilor Hatt. Okay. Question or comment on the tabling motion? All those in favor of tabling this for, would you say 1 month?
1 month, yeah.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, I need you to raise your hands for this. It's okay, I got Dederakis and Hack and Councilor McKay. So that motion is not, has been defeated. Those in favor of the motion, I guess, raise your hands. That way we can just record the vote, sorry. I want to make sure I do this right. So we'll go back to the original motion at this point to accept the motion for Lewis Connors Lane project, for the development agreement for the Lewis Connors Lane project Village. Any other questions or comments on that motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Okay. All those not? Everybody, that is a unanimous agreement then. That motion is carried. Now we go to 10D2, the Willow Court project. I call this the 260 building, I believe, in Black Sabre. I need a motion to approve the development agreement for the Willow Court project by Project Village. Councilor Tidd, seconded by Councilor Thompson. Question or comment on this? Councilor Hatt, you're first.
Once again, I'd like to see this tabled for 30 days.
Okay, you're making a motion to table this?
Absolutely.
Okay, I need a motion to second for that. Councilor Dederakis. Question or comment on this motion? If not, all those in favor of tabling this signify by saying aye. Raise your hands. Councilor Dederakis, Councilor Hatt, and Councilor McKay. Those for the those not in favor of that motion, raise your hands, please. And that's the rest of the council. Therefore, that motion is defeated. We'll go back to the original motion to approve the development agreement for the Willow Court project, which was made by Councilor Tidd and seconded by Councilor Thompson. All those in favor of that motion signify. Oh, sorry, Councilor Tidd, you go ahead.
I understand councilors' concerns on this, but this is the biggest investment in Black Sabre in the last 50 years in housing. This is no different than the incentives that we've given to other developers in the area. The tax base increase alone pays off this investment in 6 years.
Question or comment on the motion? Councilor Hatt, you're first.
All I'm asking is more than 24 hours to make my decision.
Any other questions or comments on the motion? Councilor McKay, you're next.
I have not had time to read over this development agreement either. It would have been just nice to be able to have a little bit of time. I mean, it's been quite a few years now. I don't see where 30 days is going to make a huge difference, just so that we can make informed decisions. I was at the meeting the other night, and the agreement sounds good, but there's just some things I'd like to read in this that I haven't had a chance to go over. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments on the motion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those in contrary? Councilor Hatt? Therefore, that motion is carried. Okay, that brings us to 10E, which is, I've added this, Councilor Hatt, the arena. I'm going to let you speak on this.
Yes, so in the last couple weeks, we've had a failure of a dehumidifier at the arena in Black Sabre, Patrick Connors Recreation Complex. That's an older unit that has failed. We're trying to source a rental unit to get us by, to continue putting ice in. But at the end of the day, if we do not get a permanent fix or a purchase of a new one, even if we're going to have a major delay in putting ice, as in to the arena is cold enough to put ice in to stand the humidity. So what my ask is a motion that we have pricing of a replacement of 8 to 12 weeks delivery, and it's $41,000 approximately. My motion would be that we look at purchasing or approving a purchase that is not budgeted.
Okay, the motion is to purchase a dehumidifier for the arena. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
And I guess I want to make sure that you want to buy a new one. So you don't want to buy a second-hand one. You want to. I want to make sure that the motion is clear.
We have been unsuccessful of trying to find a used one.
So you want the motion would be to buy a new dehumidifier for the arena in Black.
To match
good.
the one that's there.
Good. So I need a seconder for that motion. I'm going to hit Councilor Tidd. At this point, I'll go to question or comment on that. Deputy Mayor, you're first.
for our CEO. Do we have some way to source the funds, sir?
So we would have to look at, maybe make an amendment to this motion to withdraw capital reserve funds. We do have a substantial amount of capital reserve funds. I mean, it's not endless, but that's where we'd be looking at taking this, to take it out of just general operations. I mean, there's the arena could be running a significant deficit, which we would have to deal with in the second year. However, if it's council's wish, we can certainly, make an amendment to this motion and pull out of capital reserve funds or use it for a second year deficit.
Okay, I'm going to go with the person that made the motion, Councilor Howe. Would you be in favor of adding that to the motion?
Can I ask a question on that?
Absolutely. Yep.
So the capital reserve, are we talking about is one that is just out of the taxpayers of Black Harbor's ward?
Correct. That's where the majority of that reserve is built from.
Yeah. I think that that's a shared cost over the municipality, so I'll stand my motion.
So you don't want that added to the motion to withdraw from capital reserve?
No, I believe that's a shared cost of recreation, that we should incur that as a deficit, and we will look at where we need to put it.
So I guess the question is to our manager, where else would you get the money from if it didn't come from capital reserve to add to the motion, I guess?
I mean, this is unbudgeted, so, it's a new spending line that we'd have to put in for something that's not otherwise planned for when we put the budget together. So again, this would come out of just general operations, and, how we end the year would determine whether this would keep us in the black or would it put it into the red. So with any type of new spending, as we previously have said, that there's always the chance the new spending unbudgeted it becomes a deficit item later on. So, I mean, financially, our general fund is looking very good. We're about 1.7 ahead of budget. So, I'm not overly concerned too much, but it is new spending, and it could, especially for the recreation side of the budget, could be a deficit.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any other questions on the, I'm going to Councilor Tidd, you're next.
I have a comment more than anything. So,
Absolutely.
So, if we don't do this, then we're going to lose the ice, correct? I would say? Yeah. So I see no other alternative other than we don't have the ice in the rink in Blacks Harbor this year.
You're correct, Councilor Tidd. There will be no ice, at least till weather gets colder, if we do not get this fixed. We, however, are looking at putting a rental unit in so we can continue to get ice for, September and October, because as I said, this could be 8 to 12 weeks delivery from CHCO for replacement.
Okay, any other questions or comments on mine? I'm going to Councilor Lee, you're next.
I'm in favor of it being shared throughout the whole municipality. It's only the right thing to do. So if you're going to get the rental in as soon as possible?
As long as her CAO cuts a PO in the morning, they'll be on the truck.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So would this get us through until ice will freeze on, we get cold weather and then we could budget it for next year? Or is that not a good idea?
It's really a Band-Aid. And when
Yeah.
cold weather comes, the rental unit's not meant to be outside in the snow, obviously. So this rental is a Band-Aid so we can keep what ice we have in.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm in favor of buying it.
Okay, Councilor Thompson, you're next.
What's the cost of the rental for a month?
$4,000.
We have no choice. We have to rent and spread the cost over everybody.
Yeah.
We need that.
Yeah, I guess, just with, we'll certainly work out some sort of a, hopefully arrangement with CHCO, and there's a possibility that we may not see an invoice until delivery, but there is always that case that they could be looking at payment up front. So with the delay in time, we could be looking into, late season anyways. So that's what we're going to sort of be hopeful for. So.
Any other questions or comments on the motion?
I do have a comment that I would like to say. I would like to thank all the industrial businesses around right now, because whether it's Lake Ethiopia Paper, Cook's Aqua, Connors, everybody's pulling their weight trying to help us, whether it's donating of cables, donating of time, resources, tracking down to find us a rental, shipping to get it here, whatever we need. And it's great to see our community as a whole working together to make sure that that arena will have ice, so kids on what was supposed to be Monday would be able to start skating again for the season. So I want to say thank you, because there's been a lot of tireless hours gone into this, and without them, it wouldn't be where we are today.
Any other questions or comments on the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Those contrary, and that is passed unanimously. I'm now going to move to number 11, which we've added to the agenda tonight. Well, actually not added, but just moved it. And we're going to the building and planning. And Alex Anderson, you're here tonight. You have the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship and members of council. So I attached the PRAC minutes to this planning and building report just for council's reference. There was no PRAC files for Eastern Charlotte in this past meeting. But there has been a notable increase in the construction values for this reporting period. So it's 6.5 million. And there was 11 new permits for new dwellings issued in the last reporting period. So that's a significant increase as well. One thing which we're working on, and it's just one of these updates we need to do post local government reform, is to draft a new subdivision bylaw for the community. As well, we need to provide a new fees bylaw that brings together the new entity as well. So currently the fee schedules are a little bit different across the former LSDs and the former municipalities. And these are fees that are kind of miscellaneous planning fees, like variance fees or temporary use applications and other such fees. There may be fees bylaws that are done under the Local Governance Act, but this is something which you have to do under a Community Planning Act bylaw. So a new subdivision bylaw and a new fees bylaw would be something hopefully we can get to council next month. So as I said, there's an uptick in the permit issuance in the last reporting period, 65 in total, 6.5 million in construction value recorded. And in other notable new applications and approvals, 10 variance or terms and conditions applications, 3 in the reporting period. 19 tentative subdivision applications have been approved, and there was 4 new in the report period. And a total of 23 zoning confirmation letters have been issued to date. As well as I talked about, there's been a total of 24 net new dwellings permitted year to date. So net new meaning minus the demolitions, you're up 24 new dwellings. In terms of enforcement, there's been 22 open enforcement files that have been worked on, and it's identified as violations of the Dangerous Unsightly Premises Bylaw or Community Planning Act, or I should add the Building Code Administration Act, 16 of which have been closed to date in 2023. So actually, sorry, I should say, clarify that point. 22 are still open, and we have closed 16 to date. So we're still working on those 22. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Alex. And just stick around for a second, and
Sure.
I'll go to council, a question or comment. And Councilor Derakis, you were halfway there, and then you went all the way.
So when you say like closed cases, like these are cases where the person rectified the situation? Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
that's correct. And it could be situations where they got a permit, so retroactively getting a permit, which can be complicated sometimes. It's easier to get the permit before you start, but yeah, in a lot of cases they got the permit after they were notified they required one.
Okay. And you mentioned about there's a new draft subdivision bylaw. So what's wrong with the existing subdivision bylaw?
That's a good question. So it's actually, there's 3 different subdivision bylaws technically. So one is actually the regulation, the provincial subdivision regulation, which would have applied to the former LSDs, but you have to replace that. And then there is the Village of Blacks Harbor subdivision bylaw, or actually in that case, they were also under the provincial regulation, I should state. You have the Town of St. George subdivision bylaw, I should say. So to harmonize between the two, you're going to want to make sure you have a bylaw that specifies what happens in case a new public road is proposed, say in Penfield. That's not a real example, but it just, for instance. Currently, that's just going to the minister. There's no municipal involvement. We need to specify roles and responsibilities because certain roads are still under the jurisdiction of DTI and will continue to be in certain parts of your municipality. But in areas that are under your jurisdiction, we also need to specify that where is Eastern Charlotte Council involved, and there's clear ways that this needs to be, this bylaw needs to be constructed under the Community Planning Act. So what we'll do is we'll propose something to you that meshes with your St. George Municipal Plan and your Village of Blacks Harbor Rural Plan and the rural plans for the wards in the former unincorporated areas. And we'll try to bring together something that'll work for Eastern Charlotte. Now, this could be updated when you guys do a new comprehensive plan, so you may want to go back to that. But subdivision bylaws are kind of like building bylaws. They kind of sit in the background. You need them when you have a development, a larger development, I should say. But you'll want it in case there's a large-scale subdivision proposal. You want to have a good subdivision bylaw in place.
And this will involve like a public hearing?
No, actually, these types of bylaws, a public hearing is not required. It's something which council just does 3 readings and they get registered at the province. But council can do whatever it wishes. So if that's something you deem to be appropriate, we can accommodate that kind of request. But yeah, so it's not required for a subdivision bylaw.
And my last question is, well, I had a complaint from a resident who doesn't live in my ward, but lives in another ward. And he feels as though he's being harassed and unfairly targeted by the enforcement personnel, I guess. I know that we have 22, you said you have 22, there's 22 open enforcement files that have been identified as dangerous unsightly. How many of those files are from like formal complaints, so like a neighbor versus another neighbor, versus files that are opened by the inspector?
So I don't have that in front of me, but it could be both. So sometimes a file comes to our attention through a complaint. So somebody's saying, this is obviously not a permanent structure. It's encroaching into the road, and there's an issue. Sometimes it's just through patrol, though. We have an obligation when it comes to, especially with the buildings inspection, to make sure that if there's something which we are aware that is being built, that it has the necessary approvals in place. It's one of those things we have to do. We have to provide that service. When it comes to dangerous and unsightly, it's a little bit different. We will respond primarily through the CAO if the CAO is identifying an issue. So we're not so much doing the patrol in that case because it's a little bit of a different service. Regarding someone who was concerned about a harassment, I would say I direct this division, so if there's a complaint, I would very much like to hear about it and know the details. So I'd say get them in touch with me, or you can relay the details to me and Jason, and we can look into it.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, CEO would like to add to that.
Just following up with what Alex says, one thing is with properties that are acting as salvage yards, that aren't official salvage yards, that aren't registered with the province. Those have certainly been the subject of a lot of complaints that we received at the municipal hall, but there's also due diligence with our bylaw enforcement to ensure that those are certainly ones that are highlighted. There's a lot of different salvage yards that are not even licensed with the province, but we still have to address them. We just can't sort of turn a blind eye with them. So we do try to give them the proper means to register that, especially if they're operating in some sort of business. Some of these are just abandoned, auto junkyards. So we do have to follow through with those.
Thank you.
Yep.
If not, no other questions, thank you very much for coming in tonight, Alex.
Yep.
Have a good night. That brings us to number 12, which is the public presentation appearances. Please note under bylaw number EC-01, section 7.1, members of the public shall be entitled to address council for 5 minutes with no debate from council on matters of municipal jurisdiction. So there's not a question and answer period, it's just an opportunity for somebody from the public to get up and speak to council. And all I ask is just give your name and civic address.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to give you an update on the community meals. We started here 3 weeks ago. Thank you very much for allowing us to have this building. It has been wonderful. We are at capacity every Monday night, and we are doing takeout only to shut-ins and to the seniors. We do not offer at this time takeout service, but we will be once we start raising some more funds. We just wanted to know if we could have a sit-down meeting and talk about a little hiccup we run into. We had made a contract with you guys and for 4 o'clock to come in, and we're just finding it hard to get ready to set up out here for 130 people in an hour. And we just would like to see if we could get an extra half hour, maybe at 3:30 to come in. But maybe we can touch base and have a meeting about this sometime. Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, Faith Avery, 12 Carlton Street.
Anybody else?
So Glenn Hawkins, 346 Shore Road. I was hoping there would be enough people to come up and talk that I wouldn't have time, but there's a text, a chain of text here that I was asked by Raylene Wright and Jenna Bozine, as well as the new doctor in the area, Dr. Drost. Am I saying that right? There's some concerns around childcare. So this is from Dr. Drost. She says, I'm at Charlotte County Hospital on call, and I'll try to make the next meeting. She says, I'm also looking for good, reliable, and quality childcare. This is a problem that all families are facing right now. In the current economic climate, both parents need to work to live. In order to do that, there has to be childcare. Unfortunately, I have seen a lot of my patients in the past, one parent had to stay home, or they would try to work from home, often with the child sitting in front of the TV because that was their only option. Or they settle for substandard care. The other thing that is disappointing is that it is often the mother who has to stay home, and this contributes to the gender pay gap. There is also a lack of employees in the workforce, but part of the problem is the lack of childcare. So some good prospective employees have to stay home even though they have to work. Unfortunately, if I, and this is the doctor, do not find childcare, I will need to spend more time home away from the office. And she replied, sorry if this doesn't make sense, I'm in between patients. So.
Great, thank you, Glenn. Anybody else?
Carlton Street, St. George. Just a quick comment on the council's request on the development agreement. You are perfectly right in requesting that request, that you wanted to find out a little more information. That's a fair amount of money, just in the brief of what you said, $500,000. Over the grand period of 6 years, like Councillor Tidd says, the payback is there. However, 24 hours just to consider that, not quite long enough. The fund capital reserve in St. George and Black Harbor seems to be a contentious issue. Last month, council agreed to buy generators for the municipal building and this building. This building is cost shared like everything else. Just kind of seems like a double standard to me, the way I see it. Thank you.
Anybody else? If not, we'll move on. Next item. Forget where we're at. What's that? Yes, councilors' statements by members of council. I'll go first. The Minister of Public Safety for New Brunswick, Chris Austin, met with mayors and public safety committees on September the 7th in St. Andrews to discuss his action plan around crime to our region, It was a good and honest conversation. All mayors were in attendance from Charlotte County. Danny Cogswell from Fundy Shores, Alan McEachran from St. Stephen, Harvey Matthews from Campobello, Bonnie Morse from Grand Manan, Ken Stanix from McAdam, Brad Henderson from St. Andrews, as well as Councillor Darrell Tidd, Councillors Wayne McQuarrie, and Deputy Mayor Hatt from Eastern Charlotte, and James Tubbs representing the LSDs. The minister recognized that New Brunswick has less officers to population than the national average. We have a lower percentage of successful police investigations than the national average, and it's a trend in the wrong direction. And despite the national trend in crime decreasing, crime is increasing in our province. Our provincial policing budget over the last decade has not increased, therefore hitting a perfect storm of less police resources for increased police need. Many questions and comments were asked during the meeting: repeat offenders and lenient justice system, mental health, and addiction services. Use of provincial public safety for highways instead of the RCMP. We have a budget, Eastern Charlotte has a budget of $7 million, while $2.2 million of that is for RCMP protection. Therefore, I brought it to the minister's attention that the RCMP focus has to remain inside the area where crime really happens, not catching speeders on a highway we don't own. The minister responded that they are doing some of that now, but he will look into increasing it to give the RCMP the opportunity to focus on crime. Minister Austin reminded mayors to keep reminding residents of the SCAN program, which is a community-driven complaint system where the names are protected for those reporting drug activities in their neighborhood. Minister Austin asked mayors and councilors to ask our citizens to keep calling the police every time they see something instead of just posting it on social media. Some regions now have a mobile crisis unit to assist the RCMP with mental health and addiction services and related calls, and we asked him to explore the possibility of this service in Charlotte County, or at least have somebody at the regional who can take these patients as soon as the officer arrives, which will aid in getting our officers back on patrols faster. The minister will take that back and work on that. The courthouse closure in St. Stephen has significantly increased RCMP time out of the region and decreased communication to the general public on prosecution. We need a court in our area, especially for the islands of Grand Manan and Campobello. The minister said he would take that back. The government announced $20.5 million increase in frontline officers, and we asked him when we know what that means to our region specifically. It was also mentioned by the RCMP that some of those officers will be used for special units to fight the increasing drug trade in New Brunswick. The Minister Austin and his deputy are taking all the concerns back and will be working on them. Karate classes. Anybody interested in karate in this room? Anybody? No? It is some are. Karate classes are returning to Eastern Charlotte on October the 5th in Blacks Harbor at the arena. It's a great opportunity for everybody. It will be for Thursday evenings beginning at 6 p.m. and it starts at 6 o'clock, and we have the 5 to 8-year-olds, 9 to 15s, and we have 16 and up. And the first month, anybody who wants to take those classes, the first month is free. I'd like to congratulate Lake Utopia Paper on the celebration of 50 years in the industry on August 25th. I wish to thank Robert Fawcett and especially the Irving family for inviting me to this occasion and to speak at it. Our area here in Eastern Charlotte have been extremely fortunate the last 50 years to have Irving Lake Utopia Paper part of our community. By being in our area as a corporate and social partner in our community, it has brought significant diversity to our local economy. The employees of this industry make a significant financial contribution to our community year-round. I'd like tonight to congratulate Sarah Matheson Ross of St. George, New Brunswick, and Team Canada for winning gold over the USA at the World Masters Ball Hockey Championship in Buffalo, New York on Sunday, September the 3rd. We're very proud of her. Fog Festival, I know that Councillor Hatt spoke on it, and so did the CEO, so I'm not going to speak too much more because you pretty well thanked everybody that could be thanked. Again, Hurricane Lee was, I can't thank I can say our fire departments and our public works anymore. The biggest thing about that week, last weekend was there was no loss of life, and that was the biggest thing that we could have come out of that storm. It didn't affect us a great amount as we thought it might have, but we're very, very fortunate. I'm going to go to our deputy mayor at this point. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Hatt.
I forgot to mention the YMCA had gave a report of how it's going, and anyway, they've the numbers were quite low in June and July, but Paige has forwarded me and said we're back up to 365 in August, so the numbers are coming back up for the program, which is great to see.
Awesome. Councillor Dadarakis.
The town, last year, or the year before, the town of St. George donated land to Habitat for Humanity under the condition that a home would be built by October. Next week, I'm just informing the council, and next week, myself and Jason will be speaking with the CEO of Habitat for Humanity and see what we can do to get this house actually built. And I'm just like looking at this room and basically what you had to say about serving 100 people. The Macadavic Place is a community center that was built by the community to serve the entire community. And you have all sorts, it's a space that provides, that services people that, that need to be fed, or if they need to go to Alcohol Anonymous, seniors functions, fundraisers, baby showers. It's also the emergency shelter for Eastern Charlotte, for our municipality. So I just want to really reflect on the space, and yeah, I'm very appreciative of it. So thank you.
Councillor McQuarrie. Councillor Lee.
Just a comment on something one of the speakers brought up on these funds, capital funds or accounts generated by the previous town of Blacks Harbor and town of St. George. Is my understanding that we are a municipality now, so all accounts and all funds in these accounts belong to the municipality. So I kind of agree with the speaker on, we discussed this a month ago for generators, and it was decided to take the money from an account in St. George. So I don't see what the difference is on capital reserve funds generated by Blacks Harbor and not being able to use them. So I am definitely in favor of what the CAO decided to take, where he decided to take the money from. Maybe it's worth another talk sometime to sort this all out, because I'm a little confused. These monies and these funds that were generated, I don't agree with them being spent totally in those areas now where we're one big municipality. It's money to be used all over. So it would be money that, yes, I agree that we need to keep our arena and ice in so that we can have that facility. We've spent a lot of money on it now, so there's whatever it takes to keep it going. We need to do that, but I'm really struggling with not using the capital reserve fund. So,
Councillor Tidd.
I would just like to echo the comments, thank all our staff, fire department, office staff, public works in the last month. It's been a busy month for them, from Fog Festival to the water issues in Blacks to the storm this current past weekend. Their dedication to Eastern Charlotte is to be commended, along with their CAO.
Great. Councillor McKay. Okay, that brings us to date and location of our next meeting, which would be October the 18th, 2023 at 7 p.m. right here at Macadavic Place. And I'll look for a motion for adjournment tonight. Councillor McQuarrie, thank you. Thanks everybody for coming. Appreciate it.